Doctor Who is on life support. And no one's willing to say it out loud. Because while the TARDIS might still be spinning, and while the fanbase may still be active, the reality is becoming impossible to ignore. Doctor Who is drifting. Not forward, not backward, just lost in the time vortex. Season 15 was supposed to change everything. A new doctor, a new companion. Instead, we got chaos, confusion, regeneration into ambiguity. And with Season 16 still unconfirmed, with whispers of cancellation swirling and Disney quietly pulling back, the only way to save Doctor Who now is to look back. Back to the past. Back to the blueprint that made the show great. And there's one core element from the classic era that may be the last hope to fix everything serialized storytelling. Once upon a time, Doctor Who wasn't just episodic television. It was a saga. Classic stories spanned 4, 6, even 12 episodes. Arcs were rich with build-up, development, tension, and consequences. You couldn't miss a week or you'd lose the thread. The show didn't chase your attention, it earned it. Today, Doctor Who burns through ideas like firewood. Entire civilizations are introduced and destroyed in 25 minutes. Plot twists arrive every 2 minutes. And character arcs collapse under the weight of runtime limitations. The modern era is trying to juggle blockbuster visuals, constant cameos, and emotional depth, all while sprinting through a narrative treadmill. It's unsustainable. The proof? It's in the finale that broke everything. The Reality War was meant to be the capstone of the Disney era. The episode that proved Doctor Who could play in the big leagues. Instead, it raised more questions than it answered. Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor is gone. Billie Piper stands in his place. But who is she? Is she the Doctor? Is she the bad wolf? Is she something else? There's no explanation, no context, no roadmap. Just vibes and fans. The ones who have followed this show across time, space, and scheduling changes are left grasping for meaning. But we've been here before. Back in the classic era, uncertainty wasn't a bug, it was a feature. Look at The Trial of a Time Lord, 14 episodes. One sprawling, interwoven narrative. The Sixth Doctor dragged before a Gallifreyan court, forced to reflect on his own choices, his own flaws, his own future. It wasn't just a courtroom drama. It was a meta-commentary on the show itself. It was serialized storytelling at its most ambitious. And even though it was messy, even though Colin Baker's time as the Doctor ended without a proper regeneration scene, it still felt like Doctor Who. Not a marketing exercise. A story. A real one. We glimpsed that ambition again in Flux. Yes, Flux had its flaws. Yes, it was overly complicated and rushed in parts. But it was an attempt, a real one, to tie 6 episodes together into a cohesive arc. It wasn't perfect, but it tried. Now imagine that same format, but with focus, with restraint, with clarity. One full season, one single story. Room to breathe, room to build. Room to matter, not just cameos and explosions, but character, consequence, and closure. That's the Doctor Who that could survive the storm. But serialized storytelling alone isn't enough, because the real secret ingredient hiding in the classic era wasn't just structure, it was symbolism. The Doctor's enemies weren't just monsters, they were reflections, foils, mirrors. And right now, the biggest mirror in the show is Billie Piper. But no one knows who she's really playing. She stood at the center of the Reality War. She emerged from the regeneration glow. But no name, no identity, no confirmation. And it's no accident that she looks like Rose Tyler. Because Billie Piper has always been more than just a companion. She was Bad Wolf. She was the moment. She was the bridge between the Doctor's past and future. And now she's returned. Not as the 16th Doctor, some suspect, but as something more symbolic, more mythic, a living echo of the Doctor's story itself. Think about it. In The Day of the Doctor, she wasn't Rose, she was the moment's interface, a conscience in the shape of a memory, a weapon wrapped in guilt and nostalgia. Now she's back again. And maybe, just maybe, she isn't here to lead the next era. She's here to end this one. To reflect everything the Doctor has done, every life lost, every friend forgotten, every plot hole ignored, every character unresolved. Because that's the real problem with the modern era of Doctor Who. Nothing ends. Nothing concludes. Everything fades to silence. Ruby Sunday's story, left dangling. Belinda Chandra, sidelined. Poppy, unexplained. The Rainy, defeated, maybe, but still undefined. Doctor Who used to answer its own questions. Now it just moves on to the next shiny mystery. And fans are noticing. They've noticed for years. They're not asking for perfection. They're asking for meaning. Which brings us to the last, most urgent solution. Season 16 shouldn't introduce anyone new. It shouldn't chase new villains. New mysteries. Not yet. It should stop. Take a breath. and look backward, for once, not as fan service, but as surgery, to fix what's broken, to answer what's left hanging, to respect the characters that never got their proper goodbye. Because if Doctor Who really is in danger, then the only way forward is through the past. Doctor Who can't outrun its past. Not anymore. Because the truth is the show's greatest strength has always been its legacy. And now, that legacy is what threatens to undo it. Every unanswered plot thread, every abandoned character, every regeneration with no closure, no context, no heart, they're stacking up like paradoxes in a collapsing time loop. And if Doctor Who wants to survive, it doesn't need another time war. It doesn't need another godlike villain. It needs something simpler. Resolution. Let's talk about the one character who embodies this better than anyone: Clara Oswald. Across time and space, she was everywhere. Split through the Doctor's timeline. Died. Lived. Died again. She rode off in a TARDIS of her own with a Schilder, heartbeats away from death, frozen in a permanent goodbye. And then, nothing. No mention, no check-in, no return. Not even a whisper. How can a character be so central, so cosmically embedded in the Doctor's history, and yet so disposable? The same is true for Sarah Jane Smith's children. Luke was acknowledged barely. Skye was forgotten entirely, even though her connection to the Trickster directly ties into the current Pantheon arc. The show introduced a baby Pantheon god over a decade ago, and then forgot it existed, even as it built an entire modern arc around the Pantheon. How does that happen? Simple. The show stopped looking back. Serialized storytelling can change that. It offers space, structure, a sense of gravity, one season, one arc, one mission to clean the timeline. Give Clara her epilogue. Explain the Trickster's absence. Address the mystery of Susan once and for all. Bring back timelines that were erased. Explain why Earth was forgotten. Why Time Lords are suddenly sterile. Why Gallifrey still matters, or doesn't. You can't build a house on cracked foundations. And right now, Doctor Who's lore is a canyon of contradictions. But it doesn't have to be. Let's imagine a season 16 that follows the classic era's blueprint. 4 serials, 4 interconnected arcs. One overarching threat, the first serial. The Doctor wakes up, still with Billie Piper's face, but no memory of who she is. Not amnesia, but something deeper. A disconnect between form and identity. She's not Rose. Not the moment, not the bad wolf, but a fragment, a manifestation, a representation of the Doctor's unfinished stories. Because regeneration isn't just a biological process, it's emotional, spiritual, symbolic. And this version of the Doctor has inherited too many unresolved threads to form a new, stable self. She's not just the 16th Doctor. She's the Reckoning. The second serial. Return to Bannerman Road. Finally confront what happened to Skye. Reveal the Trickster's long game, the real reason the Pantheon returned, and tie it all together with the Whisper Men, the Toymaker, Maestro, all of it. Not through exposition, but through character, through loss, memory, closure. The Doctor doesn't fight the Trickster with weapons. She wins by finishing stories. The third serial, The Return of Gallifrey. Not the Gallifrey of the Time War, not the dusty citadel, but the idea of Gallifrey, what it stood for, what it failed to protect, and what the Doctor has been running from for centuries. Perhaps we finally see a council of past Doctors, not cameos, not fan service, but a courtroom of conscience. The Ninth, the War Doctor, the Fugitive, the Timeless Child, all debating what the Doctor is and what she should become. Because the show doesn't need more explosions. It needs answers. And the fourth serial, The Farewell, the Doctor, still with Billie Piper's face, finally begins to stabilize, and not by moving forward, but by making peace with the past. She visits old companions one last time. Not all, but the ones whose stories deserve it. Martha, River, maybe even Susan. One final walk through the timeline. And at the end, a true regeneration. Not into another surprise twist. Not into another former actor, but into something earned. A clean slate. The real 16th Doctor. The one who can finally move forward. Serialized storytelling doesn't just benefit pacing or lore. It gives weight to the narrative. It forces patience. Demands payoff. Rewards attention. And it's how every great show evolves, from Buffy to Breaking Bad, from Avatar to Andor, even Star Trek, once purely episodic, embraced serialization and found a deeper resonance. Doctor Who has the canvas, it has the history, it has the fan base. What it needs is the courage to focus, to slow down.
To say, this year,
We're not introducing anything new, we're finishing what we started. Because that's what storytelling is. Not just beginnings, but endings that matter. Some will say it's too late. That Doctor Who has lost too many fans. That the brand is too fragmented. That Billie Piper's regeneration twist was the final straw. But those people forget one thing. Doctor Who always comes back. The question isn't whether it can survive. The question is, will it choose to remember who it really is? Because the Doctor always wins in the end. But only after confronting the truth they've been